What's going on, boys? It's your boy Max. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to be a more charismatic person. Now, the thing about charisma is that it's hard to actually learn how to be charismatic. And it's even harder to teach someone how to be charismatic. But I'm going to teach you guys some of the things, some of the principles that I've learned that helped me become a more charismatic person in my day-to-day life. And here's why charisma is so important in the first place. Not only does it get you more women and actually allow you to be able to speak to them the right way, actually allow you to, get your way with them, but having a charismatic personality will literally put you inside rooms that you otherwise would have not been in, right? It's going to get you way more opportunities, job opportunities, networking opportunities. You're going to be meeting people and connecting with people that if you weren't charismatic, you would have never had the chance to actually meet and connect with, right? A lot of people focus on networking so much. A lot of people focus on just shooting their shot. But none of that actually matters if the people don't care about you. Before we actually break down what it takes to be charismatic, what is charisma in the first place? Charisma is just simply making people feel good. When someone is charismatic, that means that when you are around them, they make you feel good, right? And so you want to be around them, right? I'm sure that you can think of someone in your life that even if you're having a bad day, if you speak to that person, it's just like they just raise up your mood. Or like you just feel way better after interacting with that person than if you wouldn't have, right? That's what charisma is all about. And I learned kind of the hard way about why charisma is so important, because I wasn't very charismatic like growing up. I had a sense of humor. I could make people laugh, right? I had a way of speaking to people, but I didn't really know the importance of charisma until this happened. So I was in college and, I was attractive, right? I looked pretty similar to how I do now. And I would get girls in college. But there was this guy in my class who looked worse than me. He was not as handsome as me. Like, no homo, but he was not as handsome as me. And yet, he got way more women than I did. And I noticed it was simply because of the way he spoke to them. His charismatic personality. Like, that's what he had. You understand? And so, I took, like, pointers from his personality and I linked it to all of the people I know. And I realized that, like, there's certain people in my life who all share, like, these similar qualities. And all of these people are very likable, right? Which is what charisma is all about. And I just put it all together and I made my own system that I'm going to break down right now. So you can be more charismatic as well, right? So let's get right into it. So, charisma 101. First thing you got to keep in mind to be charismatic is you need to remember people's names. I'm sure you've heard of the saying that people's favorite sound is the sound of their own name, right? Something like that. People love to hear their own name, right? And if you know a lot of people, right, you live in a big city, you're constantly having different interactions, it's going to be hard to remember people's names, right? Some people have these like weird names, some people have like these unique names, and it's pretty hard to actually remember them. So this is actually something that I do still to this day to remember people's names. Whenever I'm in a new spot, right, this could be the gym, this could be at work, this could be a cafe, this could be a restaurant, right? Just places that I know I'm gonna get back to eventually in the future. I write down the person's name. I always get their name, right? I have a small talk with the person, and then I get their name. Yo, bro, what's your name, by the way? Okay, cool. Jack? Yeah, my name is Max. And then I would write down their name in the notes app on my phone. And right next to their name, I would put like a little comment, a little observation about that person, so I can remember for next time. That next time I'm in the spot, I call them by their name, and they're like, wow, I didn't expect you to remember that. Because most people do not remember names, guys. They don't, right? Most people just like, they forget. So the fact that you actually took the time to remember their name, that's gonna make you stand out. That's gonna make you way more likable, right? So guys, I do this for so many different occasions. I have a whole list. Like, some of you guys may think this is weird. This helps, right? I have a whole list of like people's names from the gym, right? I have a list of people's names from like the grocery stores I go to, the cafes that I go to, different like food spots that I frequent. If you know you're gonna be back at a certain spot, remember the people's name. Take the time to remember the staff, right? The people that work there, okay? And just remember their names, because it's gonna go a long way. It's gonna go a long way. Let's say you want to go back to that spot later on. Boom, you remember their name, they start to actually remember your name, and then they give you better service. So now you have like this situational status. You have like this, you're like this local celebrity, right? You go to a spot, maybe you bring your girl, maybe you bring your boys, and boom, the staff is treating you better. You get first access to the open table, right? They're giving you like free drinks and shit. All because in the very beginning, you showed them that you care by remembering their name. So create a list of people's names. One thing about this though, I would say is that if you really don't care to like ever speak to a person again, then I wouldn't really take the time to write down their name. I would only write down the names of people who I know I'm gonna like speak to again, and I want to maybe build a relationship with them. You understand? But this is always like staff workers, you know, like people in the neighborhood, things like that, right? Create a list of people's names. Okay. Number 2 is you want to ask questions. Ask good questions, because people love to speak about themselves. A lot of you guys, when you're talking to women, you just ramble on and on and on about your life. But she doesn't want to hear that. Women love to talk. They love to yap. So you gotta let them. You understand? And it's not just women. People love to yap about their own life. Because when they speak, when you ask them questions, they feel important. They feel like you care. Because most people, they'll be like, hey, how are you doing? And they wouldn't even want a response. If I ask someone, hey, how are you doing? I wait and I get a response. And I may even elaborate. They tell me, oh, you know, I'm good. I'll be like, oh, you know, what'd you do over the weekend? Or if they tell me I'm bad, I'll be like, oh, what happened? And I would like genuinely try to understand their situation. But a lot of guys, they would just brush off these answers that people give them. And it comes off as fake. It comes off as fake. Like when you're speaking to women, when you're speaking to other people, actually show a genuine interest into the things that you're talking to them about, right? You're on a date and you ask a girl about, oh, her job, right? You ask her about her job. Don't take this opportunity to like brag about your job and how much money you make and like all the benefits you have and your cool like experiences with work. Like that's boring. It looks try hard, and she really doesn't care, right? She wants to talk about what she does. So you ask her what's her job. She tells you, and then you want to be like, hey, what inspired you to even get into that career? Right? And then she's going to be talking about like all the things that inspired her, right? How she's always had this dream of becoming like this, like nurse for kids or something like that, you know, something along those lines. And then you ask questions about the questions, and then boom, they just get to talking to you. And by the end of the conversation, they're going to be like, damn, this guy, Max, was like the only person that I've spoke to that actually cared about what I was saying, listened to me, asked me questions, and didn't take the opportunity to like ramble on and on about themselves. That makes you seem way more charismatic. That makes people way more likely to like you. You understand? So ask them questions. Okay? Even if, you know, like you guys just met, right? This person in the gym, you meet them up, right? You ask for a spot, get their name, boom, you write down their name in your notes app, okay? Then you're like, yo, bro, so what are you working on today? Oh, they're like, oh, I'm hitting back. Be like, yeah, bro, like you got a crazy back. You feel me? Like I can see your shoulders popping out, got the real dust popping, right? Like, give compliments. That's a great way to do it, but make sure the compliments are genuine. That's one thing, like, with all of this, I wouldn't try to fake it because a lot of people can see right through that. Anytime I give compliments, it's always genuine, right? If I give you a compliment, it's because I mean it, right? I'm not going to compliment someone's physique if I don't think they have a nice physique. And the fact that I do this, the fact that I'm so intentional about it and so genuine about it, it weighs so much more. It means so much more because I'm not just complimenting them every time we speak, right? I'm just complimenting them when I feel like they deserved it. And that means so much more. It comes off a lot more genuine, right? And, even with women too, you speak to a woman, a lot of times guys will be like, oh, I don't compliment women. Oh, yeah, no validation. And it's like, okay, cool story, bro. Like, you don't compliment them. Good job. Like, no. You could give compliments, but even with women, you could do it strategically. So the way I like to go about it is that I wouldn't compliment their looks, right? I wouldn't just be like, oh, you're so beautiful. Like, I don't do that, right? Because she's heard that a million times in her life, especially if she's a good looking girl. I give compliments based on character for women, right? So let's say I'm in the gym and I always see her here. I might be like, yo, you're very consistent. Like, most people would have given up by now, right? And then she'll be like, damn, like, someone actually recognizes me for being consistent. Or I'll be like, yo, you're very fit. Or like, I see her training upper body. I'll be like, yo, most women only train legs. Like, I'm surprised that you got a nice upper body. That's like a compliment you could give because it shows more than just her looks. It's about her character. It shows that, okay, I think that you're a consistent person, you're hardworking, all of these things. And that's a lot more respectable, right? That means that you actually took the time to like notice these like little nuances about the person. You understand? And that's just the way you got to do it. That's the way that you actually give out compliments, right? So every time you meet someone new, or every time like there's like hundreds of times we go around throughout the day, we see a stranger and something catches our eye, right? Maybe we like the color of their shoes, like we like the shoes they got on, right? Or we like the jacket, right? That's a common one for me. Like, I'll go around by my day and I'll see a guy with a nice jacket. I'll be like, yo, bro, that's a nice jacket. Or I'll see a guy who I can tell he's fit. Like, he's got a shirt on, but I can tell he's fit. I'll be like, yo, bro, you're looking jacked. That's a genuine compliment. You understand? That's a genuine compliment, and it means so much more. And then from that situation, maybe this guy's dressed up, maybe he's jacked. I gave him a compliment, he gives one back, maybe, right? Doesn't have to, but he could. And then boom, from there, I'm like, oh, I get to know him a little bit. Turns out this guy is in the same field as me, or this guy knows somebody that I might want to know. And because I took the time and I took the opportunity to approach him, man or woman, they now open doors for me, right? So it's like a two-way street. You feel me? Like, they get a compliment, they feel good about themselves, and then you get opportunities, whether that be networking opportunities or the woman like going home with you, her liking you, whatever it is, right? That's what it's all about. That's why charisma is so powerful. Now, this third point is very, very important, so don't skip this. You must increase your value. Your value, because here's the thing. Yes, you could do the first and second step. You could remember people's names. You could give compliments. You could ask them questions. But at the end of the day, if you're not a person of no sort of value that people can see on you, like you're just like this, like you're not attractive. You look like you have horrible habits. Like you look like you hate your life. You feel me? And you're just like over here, like remembering people's names, asking them questions, giving compliments, like it. Yeah, like they may consider it, but it's not gonna hit the same. You feel me? It's not gonna hit the same as when you're attractive, you're a disciplined guy, like people know you. You understand? That a compliment coming from someone who got shit going on for themselves means a lot more than someone who doesn't really have much. You understand? That's why you must increase your own value. This starts with your habits, right? Your habits. What do you do upon waking up, right? Do you go on your phone right away? Right? What do you do? Do you have a morning routine? Because all of these, like all of the little things that you do throughout your day, with your daily habits, the way that you eat, the way that you train, you know, where your eyes wander when you're in the gym. Like, do you like focus on everybody else? Do you look at the women, or do you focus on your set and your hard working and you stay locked in? All of like the little habits that you have throughout the day, that radiates based off of your character and your confidence. So you gotta keep that in mind. You have to lock in your habits, right? I have a whole bunch of videos on mastering masculine habits, so check those out, right? But you need to make sure you have great habits, because what you do in private shows in public. I'm gonna say it again. What you do in private shows in public. So you do something you think no one's watching, but then it comes off. It comes off in the way you speak, comes off in your body language, comes off in the way you carry yourself. And if you're like this awkward guy, right, you just look weird. Like, doesn't matter whose name you remember, doesn't matter what questions you ask, like, people are not gonna want to talk to you, right? A compliment from you won't mean much. You feel me? So make sure you master your habits. Make sure you improve your looks. Guys, there was literally studies done that shows that handsome people, good-looking people, get treated better by society. They get better job opportunities. Like, people are willing to go out their way for people that look good, that people that they deem as attractive. Like, there's pretty girl privilege, but there's also handsome man privilege. I'm telling you right now, once I improved my looks, got into better shape, started dressing better, the opportunities started coming in. All of a sudden, like, people hitting me up, they want to do favors for me. When back in the day, I was out here asking for favors. People genuinely want to help you when you look like you take care of yourself, because it shows that you prioritize yourself. You have self-respect and you care about yourself. And when you care about yourself, other people will care about you. But when you come off like you don't even like yourself, right? You have no self-respect. You don't respect yourself. How do you expect other people to respect you? How do you expect other people to treat you well? How do you expect other people to go out their way to give you a new job opportunity, or go out their way to, connect you with this person or that person? They won't, right? So work on your looks. Starts with getting in great shape. Aim for that 12% body fat range. V-taper physique. Make sure you fill out your sleeves, right? Wearing a nice polo right now, and you can tell I'm fit, but I don't need to take my shirt off for you to know I'm fit. You understand? So, and then change up your style too. If you've been dressing a certain way and hasn't really gotten you far, change it up. Always recommend classy with a bit of sex appeal. So, like this polo, it's got the classiness because it's a polo, but it's also got the buttons down, got the jewelry, the physique, filling it up, slim, accentuates the physique. That makes you more attractive. I believe that's one of the best ways to actually dress. But everyone has different personalities. You gotta find what works best for the archetype that you are. Okay? And then last but not least, in terms of increasing value, is gonna be your status. Okay? So it's pretty obvious that, when someone has high status, let's think of a celebrity. If you saw a celebrity on the street and they give you a compliment versus like some random hobo on the street gives you a compliment, like, you're gonna care a lot more about the compliment coming from the celebrity, right? Because they have a higher status. It's just simple. Like, people respect them more. People will give them better things. Like, they've made them more farther in life, right? So a compliment coming from them will probably mean more to you than someone else. Okay? So you gotta raise your status. A couple ways to do this is, obviously the obvious one is to be famous, like increase your social media following. You can do this by just creating content, right? When you have a decent following on social media, people know who you are. Sometimes, like, I don't even have a big following on social media, but I see guys out in public and they'll be like, yo, bro, I've seen your video on Instagram, I've seen your video on TikTok, I've seen your video on YouTube. And that gives me status, believe it or not. Even if I'm not famous, like, that gives me status. Imagine being with a chick and some guy comes up to you talk about, yo, I've seen your videos. Like, that's gonna instantly make you higher status in her eyes, right? So that's an easy way to raise your status. Well, it's not easy, but you have to put in work. But that's one way to do it. But the way that I prefer, because obviously not everyone is down to make content, right? Now everyone's trying to be a social media celebrity. What I recommend doing is to get local situational status. So this goes back to how I said you gotta learn people's names. You need to establish relationships with the people that work at the places that you frequent. You understand? Establish relationships with the people that work at the places that you frequent. So if there's a restaurant that you always go to, if there's a certain lounge that you always bring girls on dates to, get to know the staff, get to know the bartender, get to know the manager, the security, all the people that work there. Get to know them and do this for them, right? Get to know their name, remember their name, ask them good questions, right? Make them feel good about themselves so they know who you are. So next time you're in that spot and you bring a chick, they treat you better, right? And the fact that they do treat you better, that's instantly gonna raise your status. I'm talking about, like, you could do this in the Starbucks that you go to. Guys, I go to Starbucks. Sometimes they give me like free drinks, all because I've established relationships with the people that work there. Because I'm respectable, right? I'm kind. I remember their names. I don't just ignore them. I don't just treat them like garbage, right? Like most people do. Most people walk into a venue and they treat the staff like they're not even human, right? But you fail to realize, like, these are the people who are giving you your service. These are the people who can make you look higher or lower status. You feel me? You disrespect the staff, okay, next time you bring a chick over to that same spot, then they're gonna disrespect you, right? And they're gonna take super long to give you your food, to give you your drink. And then the shorty's gonna be looking at you like, why are they doing this to my mans? You understand? Like, if they're disrespecting him, I wonder how often he actually gets disrespected in the real world, right? So, situational status, becoming that local celebrity, is always the best way to increase your status if you're not out here just trying to be internet famous. Okay? And then last but not least, I didn't put it up on the board. It's gonna be, you gotta raise your frequency. Okay? Now, I'm not gonna get into the details of raising your frequency because that's like a whole other video. I'm gonna make another video on that. But this is very important because, guys, we all have those days where we don't want to talk to anybody, right? Where we just want to be alone, we just want to be introverted. No matter how extroverted you may be, we all have days we just don't want to talk to people, right? We're in a bad mood. That's when you're like low frequency, right? And then we all have days where, even the introverts are extroverted, right? They're out here speaking to people, they're out here, making people laugh, complimenting people, being more out there. And if you ever notice, on those days when you're more out there, on those days when you're more extroverted, that's when you get the best reciprocation from the world. That's when people treat you better. That's when you're more charismatic, and that's when you make more shit happen, right? That's when it's super easy for you to talk to that girl, super easy for you to land opportunities. It's because you're operating from a higher frequency. So if you catch yourself operating from a low frequency often, you got to find a way to raise that frequency. Now, once again, I'm not going to get into the details of that, but a few things you could do is always hitting the gym, getting the blood pumping, raising the heart rate, right? I would actually recommend doing some intense, like, HIIT workout or even running. Every time I go on a run, raises my frequency, right? Even caffeine, it's a drug, right? But raises my frequency. If you're a coffee drinker, boom, drink some caffeine. Caffeine in the system makes you feel good, right? And just even initiating that small talk with people that you see, even when you don't feel like it, those interactions can raise your frequency. Specifically, if you actually talk to people who are charismatic themselves, because then their energy will rub off on you. So if you have a friend who you deem as charismatic, call them up, right? Call them up or meet up with them and let their energy absorb their energy, absorb their charisma, basically. You understand? I've had plenty of days where I was just like, be in my bag, not really want to talk to anybody, just be like super to myself, super down. And then I would talk to one of my friends who's charismatic, and they would just raise my state. And then after that interaction, I would go about my day like feeling better. But that's why charisma is so powerful. Because once you can actually learn to implement all of this and be charismatic yourself, you can alter other people's states. And then boom, maybe this person was having a bad day and now they're having a great day. And it's all because of the interaction they had with you. And they're going to remember that. They're going to remember like, yeah, Max, he just changed my whole day. And then boom, I got this, and that out of it. I got a date planned. I got this networking opportunity planned. All because he changed my state. And so they're going to treat you way better. They're going to be taking care of you. And it comes around full circle, right? So that's why being charismatic is so important. It's not going to happen in a day, but these are some things that you want to do. These are some things that helped me become more charismatic. And if you're a guy who's trying to master this, you're trying to improve your social skills, trying to get in better shape, improve your attractiveness, and learn how to actually speak to people, learn how to carry yourself the right way by mastering your habits and your daily protocols and routines so that you can attract the woman you want and become the man that you always knew you were destined to be. If you want my personal help with this is something that I help with all my clients. Just click the link in the description to book a one-on-one call with me. Gonna get to know a little bit about your situation, what your life is like, where you're trying to go, and discuss whether or not it makes sense for us to work together, right? Also, check out the Instagram, post daily stories, daily reels. You can check that out and send me a question. Let me know any concerns that you have. Let me know a little bit about your situation and we'll speak there. But if you found this video valuable, make sure to leave a like, subscribe. I'll see you boys in the next one. Stay dangerous.